It's important to understand where India currently stands as far as the journey and the landscape of GCC is concerned. When I started the show, I gave you some data that in 2024, there are about 1,600 GCCs in India. And the estimate is that that number can reach 2,500 by 2030. But how is that going to happen? What is India's positioning currently as far as GCC is concerned, and what is our own journey been? That really is what we want to hear from our first guest. And who better than a person who's understood this journey a lot better than most of us? With a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Ajit Nayak, Executive Vice President and Head India and Middle East for HCLTech, to talk to us about the rise of GCCs in India and its journey. Welcome, sir. Let's have a huge round of applause as we kickstart the day. The floor is all yours, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Ridhima. Thank you very much. Namaskar, good morning. I know, as they say, that to start any good session, good work, it takes a great deal of activity. And I think what we heard from her, that there's a huge work which has gone in getting to this state, what we are today as such. And of course, the last 15, 20 minutes, I've been seeing that she has been hysterically trying to get the guests to come inside and settle down, because it's not easy, to get started off with any journey. And similarly, that's true when we talk about our GCC journey as well. We just heard that, yes, GCC is on the growth path. Though GCC, the capability centers, which we talk about, global capability centers, that's just a new buzzword, or the new word, or the new three letters, which I think we have been hearing for the last 2 or 3 years. But we all know that this journey started close to around 2.5 decades ago in our country. But the nomenclature was different. As we all know, we don't use that word, but obviously many a times we get to hear and read that also. Captives business. And that captives business, which was so-called insignificant in terms of relevance, in terms of volumes and all, we really didn't realize, the entire industry, the country didn't realize that captives business, how it got converted into GIC business, global in-source center business. But still, in GIC business also, I think what was happening is the enabling functions were getting outsourced. Some, I'm not saying important, not so important, but of course, not the strategic, not the technologically led work was happening in those era. And then, I think just 5-7 years ago, people started realizing the importance of GCC, the capability which I think silently our country has been building over. Thanks to so-called global service providers, and thanks to the fraternity sitting out here as such, it's only because of the complete focus which we tried to bring in as far as this business is concerned. Over the period of last 5 to 7 years, we have been able to create a strong proposition globally today, and the whole world is watching us today. And that's one reason I think more often every other day in the media, it could be a print media, it could be social media, we get to read something about GCC, right? So it's been a long journey, but a tumultuous journey. We just heard her saying repeatedly, for the right reason, 1,600, it's going to become 2,500, it could become 3,000 or 4,000. Of course, we are on the growth path, but sustaining is not easy. And I can say this confidently because I have been attached with this business. I have been running this business sitting out of India as well as abroad through HCLTech, at least for last 10 years. And the journey has been really, it's been a completely topsy-turvy journey, but very enjoying journey. And that's one reason I thought, let me share a few thoughts with you people out here, because you all understand this better. You do this day in, day out as such. First of all, thank you very much, Times Crew and ET Edge, for trying to bring in focus to this part of the business, that is Global Capability Center. Equally happy to note that, the first two were virtual sessions, and then I think we are having now face-to-face sessions, because that's a big discussion going on globally, not just in our country. Is virtual good, or is face-to-face something which needs to continue? But I think even in GCC world also, somewhere the face-to-face is still winning the race. I'm not saying that you can't do things virtually. You can do a lot virtually, but what you can do, the collaboration, what you can do sitting, like we are sitting face-to-face here, like you have taken the trouble of all the way flying down, coming out, taking out time and attending this full day session, makes a huge difference. And that's the reason we are here as such. Now, to talk about, I think I will not try and profess anything about the dispensation. The current dispensation which is running the nation, of course, is very supportive. Thanks to the entire system which is trying to promote, because it is mutual. It is mutual for the businesses, it is mutual for the growth of the country, it is mutual for the individual growth of talent, people who have remained away from the global arena for a quite long time. So from that perspective, I think we should thank the people, the setup, who have been quite happy to support this movement as such. Second thing is, of course, I think the global service provider, or you can call it by even various names, global SIs, we happen to be one out of them as such, and similarly, our partner ecosystem. And as we are there are many other global service providers who have been taking a huge lead in trying to promote the global capability centers world over as such. And what better? This started as a back office functions at some point of time, but today it has not remained there. It has become very strategic. There are huge amount of technological upskilled work which is happening out here in India. The only difference is we need to take this beyond the so-called 4 or 5 cities. Again now, don't take me wrong, though I don't live in Bangalore, I live in Mumbai, but Bangalore is as much as Mumbai. But it's time for us to now try and shift the Silicon Valley from Bangalore to some other places as such. And I don't say that take it to Mumbai or take it to NCR. Why not take it to a Class B city? Why not take it to somewhere where you have the talent and take it to the place where you can grow, where you don't have the infrastructure hassles, you don't have the capacity issues as such, and that's what we are trying to do. We in HCLTech, it's been around 8 to 10 years, we have started completely shifting our focus to something called as New Vistas location. Now, what does this New Vistas location mean? The New Vistas locations are the same place. The only difference is they are not major metros. They are Class B cities, or in some cases, Class C cities also. The advantage here is twofold. One is you are able to tap the rich, talent pool. And we have tied up with most of the prestigious institutions, so you catch them young, and then you get them to train the way you want. You give them the freedom to learn the way they want. And most importantly, in our era, when I talk about our era, of course, people of my age, we used to take at least 8 to 10 years to understand the nuances of the technology, the nuances of the business. But of course, the millennial, I think we all understand, of course, we don't have to talk much about it as such. They learn things very fast. And this is not just about giving you a sales pitch or anything. We see this happening every day. We give them a classroom training for a few months, and they are pushed into the work, and immediately you get to see them becoming proactive as such. So that's one reason why we thought that New Vistas is a program which should be picked up in full steam, and we should try and reach out to locations like we already operate in Lucknow, we operate in Nagpur, Madurai, Visakhapatnam, and the list goes on and on as such. The other way of looking at it is, it is a social upliftment also. Why is that everybody should come to a metro? Why is that only the people who live in metro should get the advantage? Because there's a huge talent, there is huge potential lying out there as such, so why not go and do that? And I'm very happy to announce that, huge technological excellence work is getting delivered from these locations by these young budding engineers. And what better, the multiplication of the numbers which you talk about, the kind of talent pool, because the entire GCC is on the people centricity. It's not going to happen unless we have the right skill sets, we have the right kind of people, and more importantly, people who are completely empowered technologically also and socially also. So that's something which has started working very well. The other aspect is, obviously, there is a big debate going on in the industry. Should the MNCs or the global companies come in India and set up their own shop, set up their own, right from infrastructure to the delivery centers, what they are looking at as such? Of course, those things are happening as such, but that's not going to be the mainstay. That may continue to happen. Important thing is the service provider bring in the experience, the experience of not just setting up the GCC, but the experience of trying to run the business. And run the business is not just normal business we are talking today, because the global 2000 companies with whom we work are in a phase where they are talking about change the business. And when I talk about change the business, it's all about IT modernization. Today, most of the global companies, it could be in NORAM, it could be in Europe, and some part of Asia Pacific as well. We come across very often where the CIO and the CEOs are really worried about the change the business. And that's where I think we come into picture. Because we talk about starting from as basic as setting up a data center, setting up IT infrastructure for the companies, and obviously with the cloud movement happening as such and the hyperscalers getting really active in this segment, in this market, and we trying to tie up with everyone and trying to be very agnostic, trying to work with everyone, because we are in an era where you can't say that I will work with only one or two partners as such, because the business is very dynamic. A customer would have a preference for a certain type of technology. A B customer could be looking at completely very diverse thing which the other one is not looking as such, And one can't go and say that, sorry, sir, I can't be working with you because I am tied up with an X partner as such, So that's where I think the agnostic angle comes into picture, and people like us have been able to really tap the global eco partner system very well as such, starting from the clouds, even the technology company and the engineering company. The other part, when we talk about engineering, very important thing is HCLTech's, the entire, start of the journey has been with engineering, which was close to 50 years ago as such, almost 5 decades. And from there to software engineering and right up to the latest technological excellence we talk about as such, So we have done that complete 9-yard as far as technology is concerned. And it becomes much easier for the customer, the global customer, to understand where the journey is going to be from point A to point B as such, And while we do all these things, trying to catch up with the people, the talent, more importantly, especially there is a kind of a fear which has set into all of us, and this is a global phenomena. I'll just spend a couple of minutes on that, Till pandemic happened, we were in a different world, right? We thought we are invincible. We have all the resources with us. We have all the wherewithals with us, and nothing can happen to us. But then pandemic happened, and it shook the whole world, including us in India. And that is a time of course, we have been very lucky. We are all sitting here as such. Some of our brethren have been not so fortunate. We could tide over that situation, but more importantly, one lesson the whole world, including us, we learned is that there is something called as resilience. And you need to build resilience in everything. It's not about just technology. It's about our life. It's about our health. Unless we start doing that, and unless we start investing time, resource in building up resilience in everything what we do, we will not be able to achieve what we want to achieve as such. So that's one major learning we got from this pandemic, and that's where I think the entire organizations, global companies, individuals, leaders have started really thinking hard. Because there is nothing which is going to remain stagnant, there's nothing which is going to remain in one steady state. Today, GCC is being talked about a lot as such, but sustaining them with talent, with technological support, with sustenance, and obviously when we talk about sustenance, today we all know that every step which we take as a global organization or even at the individual level, there are people who have become very sensitive. Sustainability is something which is being touched upon in every aspect of world. Growth cannot be at the cost of sustainability, right? And that is where I think we have also taken a pledge. We as an organization, HCLTech has taken a pledge that, the net neutrality, sustainability is something which will be touching every aspect of our world, including the every proposal which goes to our customers, every project which gets initiated has to have that sustainability element. And that is equally true for our GCC business also. It is equally true for our country, because very soon, it is already happening in US, very soon you'll get to see that if you are not sustainable, if your sustainability program is not able to give to the customers what they are looking at as such, we are not going to be there in the race. So it's a very big challenge, because when we look at growth, steep growth, we had a habit of putting all this thing at the back burners. That is not going to be the case any longer as such. So trying to marry technology, people, building the infrastructure, and same time growing needs a huge amount of traction from all sides as such, And that's where I think we are trying very hard to get all together and trying to work with our partner ecosystem, trying to work with our customers, and trying to bring in the difference to the world as such. Just to speak another 2 minutes, mainly on the line of businesses which we are in. As I just said, that IT infrastructure happens to us, from last so many years, so many decades, we have been the leaders in that part as such, Obviously, when it comes to, we just saw the video also, the SDLCs, the low code, zero code, I think that is something which is very, very common today. There's nothing new about it as such, In the last few years, we have touched upon the software. The diverse amount of software which we get to see today in the market, all IP-driven as such, that's one thing which is going to remain. And last important point is the GCCs are also looking at product level as such. It's not about just service. It's not about just what kind of services are you going to deliver. They are looking at something like productizing the whole thing. How are you going to grow a product? And if we have a product as a customer, how you can evolve that product, how you can help us to develop that product. So, in nutshell, GCC growth is there. There is no two thoughts about it. Sustenance is there. We have to work towards it as such, But in order to keep the growth clock ticking, there's a huge work which we have to do. And I'm glad we all are here today trying to put our heads together, and we are going to have a full power pack session, and hopefully we are going to take away a whole lot of ideas which could be implemented, and not just implemented over a period of next few quarters, could be implemented in next couple of quarters. That's the whole idea. Thank you very much once again, and we'll interact over the day's session today. Thank you.
Thank you.